Hello there, I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to this new video. During this video I'm going to be discussing a topic which I've never discussed before, and that is what to actually do once you become consistently profitable. The reason why I've not discussed this topic prior yet is due to the following. Many of you are not at the stage yet where you're consistently profitable, meaning you're right now still learning how to actually trade, and therefore you are within my mentorship trying to learn, okay, what are the algorithmic signatures that are setting up all of these market movements? Once you, however, begin to understand all of these different signatures and begin to understand when and where they occur, and you decide on your own that you're going to begin to actually trade based upon that information, that's something which I will never tell you to do. I am not a financial advisor, and everything which I'm going to discuss during this video is also not meant to be interpreted as financial advice. I'm simply going to share with you my own opinions when it comes to what to do when you become consistently profitable. But let's say that you find your way with the concepts which I'm teaching to you based on time and price, and you begin to achieve that stage of consistently being profitable, where every single month you're able to extract money from the markets. This could either be through, for example, prop firms, or this could be through using your own capital, whatever method you might use, because you could also use other people their capital, etc. Right? However, what I will be discussing during this video in particular is for those of you that are going down the prop firm path. For those of you that are right now either already trading based upon funded accounts, or you're trading funded challenges right now in the hopes of passing them so that you become a funded trader, so to say. Because many of you have asked me that are right now just crushing it, what to do next? What's the next move? And if you right now are not at that stage yet where you are consistently profitable, you can quite frankly click off this video, because what I will discuss during this video is not relevant to you yet. You could continue to watch it if you want to already prepare yourself mentally for the trajectory which you're going to be on, based upon, okay, this is the timeline of events which are likely going to occur over the upcoming period. But if you are already at that stage that you're consistently profitable, this video is for you. So when it comes to extracting money from the markets, it's very important to understand that you must treat that money with respect. It's not like, oh, you just make money and therefore you're all of a sudden going to go out there and just splash it on stupid stuff. No, that right there is rule number one. Treat your money with respect, because if you don't, it will find a new owner. That right there is a general rule which applies to everything. Secondly, when it comes to your current living environment, what's very important to understand is that you're probably right now living in a country where you are obligated to pay taxes. And I'm not going to give you any tax evasion advice or anything like that. You should never avoid taxes. That's not what I'm saying. However, what you should think about is whether or not the current environment that you are living in is actually the environment that is going to help you to develop as a trader the best throughout the upcoming years. What I personally realized is that since I am from a European country where I was obligated to pay 52% tax above 60,000 euros approximately, I realized, hey, but what if I'm doing $1 million a year? What if I'm able to make $1 million a year from the markets? That means that over 940,000 euros, yes, so 1 million minus 60,000 euros approximately, I'm paying 50%, yes, of 940,000 euros. Think about that. That equity, yes, which I'm giving to the taxman, could literally be utilized to do what? To fund my own accounts. Are you beginning to see? Once you start to understand that there are countries in the world which have a significant lower tax rate than where you are living currently, you begin to understand this is how the wealthy actually stay wealthy. They set up structures where they're living abroad, on paper, where they have their companies set up across, for example, different countries, revenue streams in through those countries, and they are only obligated to pay taxes in those countries. This does, however, mean that you cannot stay in your current country if this is a trajectory which you are willing to take. And I understand that some of you probably have a spouse, you have children, or you have different reasons why you want to stay in your current country. That's completely understandable, yes? And that is something which you need to consider as well. However, when it comes to trading and developing the mindset that's required to level up at a very quick pace within a short period of time, you need to understand that every single door counts. Meaning, every single door that you're able to save somewhere and that you're able to utilize in an appropriate manner that helps you achieve those goals which you have set out for yourself should be measured. Therefore, if you are at a stage where you're thinking of, okay, you know what? I'm living in a country that I don't like anymore. The government is not doing what I want them to do. The culture is going completely to shit and you're not happy with everything which is going on within your current environment. You feel like change is required, but most importantly, you begin to realize that you're not in an environment where you're stimulated, where you're basically forced to grow. Instead, you're in an environment where you're paying a lot of taxes to a government that is not going to use that money in an appropriate manner. I'm not saying that paying taxes is bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm a big believer in paying taxes and that tax revenue should be utilized accordingly, right? For the greater deed. However, when you are looking at it purely from the perspective of, okay, how am I able to grow my net worth for me and my family and my loved ones? Yes, you begin to understand staying in the country where you're currently at is probably not the wisest thing to do. Because think about it, yes? And I know I'm speaking about numbers right now that some of you cannot even imagine. But you need to begin to think in terms of those numbers already if you ever want to get to that stage. Even making $100,000 a year is already for some of you like a huge number. And it is, $100,000 is a lot of money. However, you need to begin to think bigger in order to actually achieve bigger. And that's why I'm giving the example of, okay, let's say that you're aiming to make $1 million a year. Yes? $1 million, that's what you're looking to extract from the markets. If you are going to go the prop firm route, and this is at least how it's set up within the country I'm from, the Netherlands, and it's the same in a lot of European Union countries. If you are going to work for a prop firm, because that's where you are, you're going to get paid out as an employee. You're going to get paid out as simply someone who works for the prop firm. Once the prop firm pays you out, what happens is that you immediately get treated as if you were just working for another company. It's not your own capital that you're using. In fact, there's no real capital behind it because all prop firms are literally like on paper only. That's it. You get paid out by the revenue that the prop firm generates through the people that lose their challenges. And that's a completely different topic. However, once you understand that it's not your own capital that you're trading, and therefore it's going to get taxed in a regular manner as well, because if it would be your own capital that you would be trading, then a completely different story applies, because then there's only capital gains tax, and then you're paying usually a less amount. In some countries, the capital gains tax is still ridiculous, it's still high. In my opinion, if you're paying any more than 10% a year on the income which you make, or on capital gains, you really need to consider moving abroad. The choice I made for myself at a very young age, at the age of 18, was to move out to Dubai. And I know Dubai has this reputation in the world of, oh, this is this very shady place, this and that and whatever, right? Let me tell you something. Over these past 2 years of me living in Dubai, I've never been happier than I am right now. And the reason being is because, first of all, I'm able to save a lot of money on taxes, which allows me to utilize that money in a different manner. Secondly, I'm in an environment where I'm forced to grow. Like, I'm living literally in an area where I'm walking into billionaires all the time. Think about that. I'm literally able to network with billionaires who are able to share their wisdom, which they have achieved over all of these years, with me. So what does that allow me to do? It allows me to level up. Thirdly, I'm living in an environment that's super safe. I don't have to worry about anything. I'm currently right now in the Netherlands. I'm going to be hosting up a meetup with a lot of my private mentorship students. We're just going to have a great time. But in the back of my mind, I need to be cautious. I always need to be thinking to myself, hey, what if something happens? What if someone tries to go after me or whatever, right? All those different things I don't have over there. I don't need to worry about anything. So, and this is not me wrapping like the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, as like, oh, this is a country that you should move to. No, I'm simply sharing my own opinions about and my own experiences about having lived there. And once it comes to, okay, you become consistently profitable, what's next? You need to start thinking about, where are you going to be located? Where is your corporation going to be located? And once you begin to look at different countries, because the UAE is not the only country that allows for these benefits. There are multiple countries you can consider looking at. For example, going to Cyprus, you can go to, for example, the Cayman Islands, etc. And I know that all these countries have a bad news or bad rep in the news, right? However, think about it. Why do these countries have a bad rep in the news? The reason why that is the case is because when you look at the different levels of society, and when I make a pyramid, it should become clear to you, there are a lot of people who are working just normal jobs. And if you understand that there are a small group of people that are not working normal jobs and are making a shit ton of money, you should begin thinking about, how is it possible that these people are making these amounts of money, and how are they able to basically utilize the systems which have been put in place to actually hold on to that money, to hold on to that capital. And that is where, of course, the larger group of people in the world, which are just at that lower stage in society, are always going to look up to the people that are higher from the perspective of, oh, it's unfair, it shouldn't be this way, whatever. Well, let me tell you something, this is how the way the world works. Do you think it's fair that these markets are rigged? Do you think it's fair that we're able to draw lines and predict the future? Do you think it's fair that there are high-frequency trading algorithms which are literally just controlling every single price fluctuation? Of course it is not fair, but that's the world, that's life. Life isn't fair. And the longer you hold on to this ideal in your mind where, oh, everyone should have equal chances. And I do believe that. I believe from a human perspective that's the case, but from a rational perspective, I understand that that's not the way society is structured. Over these past couple of centuries, there have literally been systems which have been put in place by the wealthy elite of how they can become one thing, and that is wealthy and richer. And once you start to look at these things and you start to investigate these things, you shouldn't think to yourself, oh, it's not fair and I should complain about this, whatever. Now look at it from the perspective of, how can you take advantage of it? How can you make sure that you're able to utilize these systems which have been created, these different structures about rules, legislation, laws, etc. How can you utilize them accordingly to make sure that you and your loved ones get the benefit from that? And that right there is the most important. So if you are right now at the stage that you are consistently extracting money from the markets and you're able to consistently extract profits, please begin thinking about these things. Because if you do not think about these things, and by the end of the year or by the end of the upcoming years, you're going to be looking back at your tax bills, you're going to be thinking to yourself, damn, I could have utilized that money in a way different manner. You could have either taken care of your family more, or you could have, for example, funded your own life accounts, because that's eventually the goal, right? The goal is not to be a slave of the prop firm all the time, because every single prop firm is going to fail one day. It's as simple as that. All prop firms are Ponzi schemes, and I know that's a pretty bold statement to make, but it's the truth. Literally. Prop firms, yes, only last as long as there's new demand for the prop firm, as long as there are new people that sign up for the prop firm, as long as there's a new influx of people that buy challenges, fail those challenges. The moment that the prop firm does not get any new clients in, and it instead has simply profitable traders that are extracting money from them on paper, what the prop firm has to do is it has to pay those traders from their own balance. But what if there's no new input to the balance and there's only output? What will happen? Eventually the prop firm will go bankrupt. And that is why you're seeing all these different prop firms fade away. And this is also why I will never promote a prop firm. I will never create my own prop firm. Why not? Because I know that the whole business structure is set to fail one day. And once you begin to understand that, you begin to realize, hey, prop firms are a wonderful tool if you do not have capital yet to your name. They are not the only way, but they are one way of building up capital. Another way is going to wealthy individuals and managing their assets. So what you then set up is you basically set up a structure where you're going to do a 50-50 agreement with an investor who is going to give you equity to trade with, and you take 50% of the profits. if you want to do it on a larger scale, you begin thinking, of course, about creating a hedge fund where you have multiple investors, and then the profit margins decrease because then you're going to be operating at about 20 or 30% of the overall profits. That's normal within the hedge fund space. However, if you're doing a one-to-one deal with an investor, with a very wealthy individual that you know, and you have a solid track record, which you can show to them, where you can show to them, look, this is my trading approach. This is what I'm able to do every single week, every single month. There's so much money waiting out there. Literally. Why do you think I mention those very wealthy individuals which I meet? Guys, the opportunities are endless. Prop firms are not the only way. However, they are the most accessible way for you right now. If you are right now on the path of going through prop firm challenges, and prop firms are your way of getting to that first equity that you're building up, don't go out there and just splash it like that. No. Use that capital which you're gaining accordingly to do what? To begin thinking about whether or not you're able to fund your own live accounts. Once you're able to fund your own live accounts, eventually you'll be able to say to the prop firm, screw you, I will never put myself at risk anymore, where I'm either going to deal with payout rejections, where I'm going to deal with the risk of the prop firm going under or whatever. At the end of the day, our business is about risk management. And risk management is broader than just what the risk is on the trade which you're taking. Risk management is literally everything that could have an impact on your own trading, on your own ability to extract profits from the markets. So when it comes to everything which I've discussed during this short video with you, where I've literally given you a blueprint to become very wealthy, yes, it's not simply, okay, this is the trading approach and boom, there you go. I've already taught you that. I've already given you everything you need to know in order to be able to anticipate these key market swings. There's nothing else that you should be looking at from a trading approach perspective that's someone else's teaches. Like, there's nothing which comes close to this level of precision. And once you've investigated my concepts, you begin to see that more and more. However, once you are at that stage that you're able to do stuff with that accordingly, which I will never tell you to go out there and trade with real funds based on that, what I'm teaching to you. That's something you decide on your own, and you are the one who is responsible for that, not me. But once you make that decision, if you ever will make that decision, the next step is, okay, how are you able to manage your wealth accordingly that you're creating? Don't go out there and do stupid things with it. And in my opinion, if you are right now paying any more than 10% on either income tax or capital gains tax, you should really look abroad and you should be considering whether or not being located somewhere else is worth it. And you might think to yourself, but I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live there or this or that. What if I told you don't need to? Yep. Why, oh why do you think that every single large company has offices abroad? Because they understand that that way they're able to literally just make money go through those companies and make sure that they pay the least amount of tax on that. And you might be listening to me speak now and you might be like filled with rage, you might be angry, you might be upset. Like, this is not fair, this and that. Goes back to what I said prior. Life is not fair. And the sooner you accept that, and the sooner you begin to realize that you either get eaten or you eat, you either hunt or you get hunted, the sooner you get that mentality of you are responsible for yourself and your loved ones and everyone else outside of that, so the rest of society, yes, has to take care of themselves. The sooner you adopt that mentality, because this is also the mentality you need to have in the markets, you need to hunt. You need to see where the weakest trader out there is, where they're basically showing to you, hey, this is what we're doing, because that right there is exactly what smart money is going to draw towards. That's what they engineer. And once you begin to adapt this perspective, I'm 130% sure. And I remember for me as well, when I got this perspective for the first time, and then once I began seeing these things from this perspective, it was quite challenging. I must admit it was. I'm even getting goosebumps thinking about those times, because I remember literally thinking to myself like, damn, this is really not fair. Like, this is really not fair how the world is structured and how these very wealthy individuals are only getting wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. But then I realized, but wait, I'm down here. There's no way I could change anything about how the game is being played up here. And therefore, the only thing I can do is learn how they're playing their game and actually begin implementing the rules and systems which they use to get to that stage and actually get higher and higher and higher. And that is the purpose of this video, which I'm sharing with you. So if you right now feel a bit overwhelmed with everything which I shared, because this was a rant which I, in a way, was putting off for a long time. I knew I wanted to discuss it at one moment in time, but I knew I had to make sure that I would do it at the right time. I hope that this rant has given you some insights on actually think. That's it. How you should think about trading and everything which you're going to do with the capital that you're going to acquire or which you have already acquired. And I'm not telling you to go out here and do something illegal. That's the most important part. I'm not giving you something that's illegal. I'm not telling you to do something which is out of the rules of the system. No, I'm simply sharing with you insights on how within the structures which have been created across the world, and these are global systems which have been put in place, how there are little loopholes which can make use of. Is it ethical to do so? That right there is something you should think about for yourself. Some of you might think it isn't. Some of you might think it is. And that's something personal. However, if you want to get to that stage where you're able to, let's say, make $1 million a year and actually maintain the majority of that money, this is the only way to do it. Because if you pay 50% or more in tax, what's going to happen? Think about how long it will take you to get to the levels that you want to get to hit those milestones which you're dreaming about. And with that, I want to end this video. I apologize if I went a bit off topic and if I ranted too much, but please let me know if you took something from this lecture. And even if you didn't, like, all feedback is welcome. Like, you might not agree with everything which I've shared, and that's okay. And there's like no problem with that. But I literally shared with you just my perspective, and we can agree that we disagree. That's okay. Like, nowadays in society, everyone has this perspective of, oh, I need to be liked by this person, I need to be liked by that person, and everyone has to appreciate me and whatever. Guys, you need to do what is right for you. It's as simple as that. And that's just like the mindset which you need to adapt, where you need to get confident in your own skin. And I'm at a stage myself where I don't even get into discussions anymore. Like, back in the day, I used to get in a lot of discussions, but then I realized it was only bringing me negative energy. And then I realized, hey, you know what? What if I just say, okay, we can agree that we disagree and move on? That right there is the simple solution to everyone around you that's trying to share their opinions about your opinion, yes, about that topic which you're having a strong opinion about. Simply don't even look at that from the perspective, oh, I should try and convince you, whatever. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. If you don't want to think about what I've shared, it's up to you, right? However, I do suggest you to think about these things, because these are the steps which I had to take at a very young age. And regardless of age, regardless of where you're at in your life, this is how you're actually able to build something that will last a lifetime. This is how you're able to create generational wealth. It's the only way. There's no other way around it. And with that, I want to end this video. Thank you for watching it all the way to the end. I know that not many people will have watched until this part, because many people probably got provoked by everything which I shared. If you did, I want to wish you good luck in your journey. If you have ever any questions about everything which I discussed during this video, you can always reach out to me via zusicontact@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me via either Twitter DMs, or you can send a message on Telegram. Apologize if my responses might be a bit delayed, because I'm getting a lot of messages every single day. I'm trying my best to go through each one of them, but I do hope that you allow me some time. And if I do not reply within a reasonable time to your important message, please just remind me, send a message again, and get to the top of the inbox again. Good luck in your studies, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one. Be safe.